Now, as you're moving through a process of initiation, this process could take on different forms at different stages. And so depending on what tradition you're looking at what time, they would have different names for the stages of development. The first stage of initiation in the classical initiation was called the raven. And so you see pictures of ravens in some types of alchemical manuscripts. If you study the Old Testament, you'll see that the story of the initiation of Elijah, they say that Elijah was fed by a raven in the wilderness. And so for anyone that was part of the Kabbalistic initiation system, they knew what that meant. They knew that he is at the stage of the raven at that point. Because the raven is a dark bird. It has to do with this dark element of the soul that is going to become illuminated through the process. The next stage is the occultist or the hidden scholar. And at that point, the person begins to actively study the spiritual realities behind the manifest world. At the next stage, they become known as the warrior. And the warrior stage was one in which one actually begins to work in the world for the goals and purposes one learns at these earlier stages. Next stage is that of the lion. A lot of it has to do actually with the transformation of the heart. When our heart is really illuminated and open, that releases the rose stream of light from the etherized blood that moves up to the third eye and then illuminates the cave of Brahma for higher clairvoyance. We can develop forms of clairvoyance without the activity of the heart. That form of clairvoyance can be very penetrating and cold. That's what black magicians develop. If we use the heart, though, we can move that clairvoyance to a much higher level. That's not just looking into people's weaknesses or how we can manipulate them, but actually looking into the soul nature of the person. What is the divine core of that person? Even if the person's acting out in a way that we can't stand them, we can try to look past that to see there's a divine core in this person. You went through some type of suffering to be able to manifest yourself in this non-skillful way in the world. The only way to get past anger and to forgive your enemies is to understand that your enemies suffer too. At this stage, the illumination of the heart really comes into play. 5. At this stage, you would have in classical text where a person is called so-and-so the Greek, so-and-so the Persian, so-and-so the Samaritan. And what's hidden behind that is that at this stage, the person is actually becoming a representative of their people, of their tribe, of their group. They can actually represent what is good in the cultural impulse of that entire group of people. And those are the kind of people you always wanted to lead your group in ancient times. The 6th stage was that of the sun hero. The sun hero you find in many ancient texts described, and this is the point where the person is literally connecting to the forces of the sun. The sun up in the sky is an emanation at a macrocosmic level from the unified Godhead. And so at the level of the sun hero, we are moving our consciousness up to what we would think of as Christ consciousness, transpersonal consciousness, beyond our people, beyond ourselves, beyond our people, to actually taking in the whole of humanity, until finally it moves up to the stage called in the Western terms later, the Father, which is the foundation of all creation. So this is the way it was described classically as the stages one goes through. And we can see that within this is really a way of depicting a transformation of consciousness from one level to the next.